Hey, how's it going everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about a Disney classic that a lot of people have probably forgotten about because no one ever brings it up. Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, The Three Musketeers from 2004. I grew up on this movie a little bit. I saw it as a kid and I've seen it many times since. I love this movie, and so I'm just trying to work myself back into watching movies again because I took the longest break ever. And so I was thinking to myself, what do I want to watch that's going to make me want to watch more things? And so I decided on one of my childhood classic favorites. And what's weird is that it was never really something that I thought about being one of my favorites as a kid. But now, with hindsight, it's one of my favorite childhood movies, I think. And like I said, this movie never really comes up in conversation. No one ever mentions it when you're talking about classic childhood movies. It's just one of those ones that kind of gets forgotten, and I don't like that because I think this movie is great. But apparently not everybody thinks so because this movie only has 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is criminal. I don't remember when the first time I saw this movie was, but I know it was a long time ago. I don't know exactly how old I was or the circumstances of it, but I imagine I rented it from Blockbuster with my parents at some point. Because back then I used to go to Blockbuster with my parents and we'd rent the VHSs for like the Mickey Mouse shorts from back in the day or like the Donald Duck shorts that were only, like 10 minutes or less. And that's how I used to watch Disney classic characters back in the day. And so I was probably introduced to this movie in that same way. This is one of the only feature-length movies starring the classic Disney characters, and that's part of what I love about this movie. The Disney classic characters like Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Minnie, Daisy, etc. are kind of underutilized these days. They're at the parks, they're on merchandising, they're in commercials, things like that. But Disney could and should be putting these characters into movies, as we see with this one. This is a feature-length movie that I think is really well done, and I think that they're kind of wasting away their potential of those characters. I think that putting these characters in the Three Musketeers story was really a great idea. It was an idea that first came about in the 1940s, and it took until the early 2000s for it to actually come to life. But I think that it was worth the wait. Because like I said, it's a good use of these classic Disney characters, putting them in a feature-length movie, and I think combining it with an already existing story just really works. Look at what the Muppets were able to do with Muppets Treasure Island and Muppets Christmas Carol. Iconic properties like Mickey Mouse and like the Muppets really just work when combining them with classic stories. It's a way to introduce younger audiences to classic literature, but it's also a great way to put your own spin on a story that people may already be familiar with. Every time I watch this movie, and I've watched this movie maybe a dozen times in my lifetime, every time I watch this movie, it just makes me want more like it. Because this movie really has it all. It's got Easter eggs and references to what these characters have been in previously, and sort of the evolution of these characters. You get some tidbits in there. You get some great music with this movie and some great 2D animation. So really, I have no complaints with this project. And honestly, younger me, childhood me, was onto something. And on top of all that, this movie is only a little over an hour long, so it's very short for a feature-length movie, so it'll take you no time at all to watch this. But that kind of comes back to bite me personally, because I want more. And so it just being a little over an hour long just makes me want to watch more, but there is no more, because they don't make these anymore. I wish that Disney would just wake up and realize that they have a cash cow sitting there. Mickey, Donald, Goofy, these characters that are more icons than characters at this point, more advertising gems than movie characters. They could be both if they just decided that they wanted them to be. I don't understand why they've all but retired these characters from film, but they need to bring them back. Disney absolutely needs to make more movies like this. Now, I know I said that no one really mentions this movie, and I stand by that. I never see anyone mention it online. No one ever mentions it in person. Whenever it comes up in conversation with my friends, it's because I mentioned it. But that being said, this movie does have some things that make it stand out. This movie had a limited screening in theaters. It was mostly a direct-to-DVD movie. But that being said, it was the first DVD to include Disney Fast Play. And if you grew up in the early 2000s, if you were a kid back then, you remember those DVDs that said, "This DVD is enhanced with Disney Fast Play."
This Disney DVD is enhanced with Disney's Fast Play.
This was the first movie DVD to have that, and so That's something. And aside from that, this movie is somewhat immortalized in the Kingdom Hearts games, where this version of France is featured as part of Mickey Mouse's character. And so that's another thing that just keeps this movie somewhat alive. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say about Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, the Three Musketeers. I really enjoy this story. I really enjoy having these classic Disney characters in movie format. And I really wish that Disney would come back and make something like this. It wouldn't be the same because 2D animation is a dying art, which is a crime in and of itself. And I don't know how something like this would work in this sort of 3D animation that they do now. But that being said, I wish they would do some more things with these characters in movie format. But yeah, what did you think of this movie? Did you see this growing up? Do you remember this movie? If so, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments down below. If you want to help me out here on YouTube, liking this video, commenting on this video, subscribing to the channel, or checking out some of my other videos, all those things help me grow the YouTube channel. And yeah, until next time, bye.